The massive Allied fleet burned. Scattered chunks of metal and frozen bodies drifted through the void of Proxima Ridge, marking the graves of a dozen warships. Admiral Renner stood on his command bridge, his four eyes fixed on the tactical display as more red dots vanished from the screen. The Dominion forces had them completely surrounded, their superior weapons tearing through Allied shields like paper. "Admiral, we've lost contact with the third defense line," a junior officer reported, his voice trembling. "The Dominion ships are pushing through Sector 7. Reinar's scaled hands gripped the command rail tighter. In his 300 years of service, he had never faced such a hopeless situation. His people had always relied on their advanced technology to win battles, but the Dominion had somehow surpassed them. Their dark matter weapons were unlike anything the Allied species had encountered before. "Sir, incoming transmission from the solar wind," another officer called out. "Captain Marr reports critical system failure. They're abandoning ship." The tactical display flashed again as another Allied cruiser disappeared. They had started the battle with 47 ships. Now, barely 20 remained, all of them damaged and low on power. The Dominion fleet, nearly 100 vessels strong, continued their relentless advance. "Send the distress signal," Reinar ordered quietly. "All channels, all frequencies. Even if help arrives too late, someone must know what happened here." The communications officer began broadcasting immediately. The message was simple: coordinates, situation report, and a final warning about the Dominion's new weapons. Reinar didn't expect a response. The nearest Allied reinforcements were at least 6 hours away. Deep in the darkness of space, far beyond the battle zone, something else picked up the signal. The experimental human warship Stormbringer floated silently, running final tests on its revolutionary drive system. Inside the bridge, Captain James Walker read the distress call twice, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the console. "Sir," his communications officer spoke up, "we're under strict orders to maintain radio silence during the trials. High Command specifically said." "I know what they said, Adams." Walker cut him off, still staring at the message. The Stormbringer was humanity's greatest achievement, a perfect fusion of human ingenuity and reversed-engineered alien technology. It was also completely untested in actual combat. If something went wrong, Earth's most advanced warship could be lost before it ever saw real action. Walker thought about the Allied species. 6 months ago, they had looked down on humanity as primitives, barely worth noticing. But when the Dominion attacked an Allied research station near Earth, human ships had been the first to respond. The aliens had watched in shock as Earth's primitive vessels used asteroids as cover, set up complex ambushes, and fought with a creativity they had never seen before. "Engineering." Walker keyed his comm. "What's the status of the Storm drive?" "Still running at 97% efficiency, Captain." Tom Reed's voice came back. "The containment field is stable, but we haven't tested it above 40% power yet." Walker nodded slowly. The Storm drive was the ship's heart, a revolutionary system that could harness dark matter for both propulsion and weaponry. In theory, it could match or even exceed the Dominion's technology. In practice, no one knew what would happen if they pushed it to its limits. "Plot a course to Proxima Ridge," Walker ordered, his voice firm. "All hands to battle stations." "Sir," his tactical officer, Kate Morris, turned in her chair. "That's Dominion-controlled space. Even at maximum speed, we'll be outnumbered at least 5-1. "Then we better make it count." Walker smiled grimly. Humanity wanted to prove itself to the galaxy. "Well, here's our chance." The Stormbringer's engines flared to life, its dark hull almost invisible against the backdrop of space. As the massive ship accelerated, the Storm drive hummed deeper, ready to show the galaxy what humans could really do. They said humans were reckless, unpredictable, and dangerous. Today, Walker would prove them right. A storm was coming to Proxima Ridge, and the Dominion would never know what hit them. 6 months earlier, the skies above Earth had changed forever. The massive Allied species diplomatic vessel broke through the clouds, its silver hull gleaming in the sunlight. Humans watched in awe as smaller ships escorted it to the landing zone, a hastily cleared area outside the United Earth Defense Headquarters. The aliens had not come by choice. Their research vessel, damaged by a Dominion attack, had limped into the solar system looking for a place to hide and repair. They found Earth instead, a planet they had dismissed centuries ago as too primitive to be worth contacting. Admiral Renner, then just a fleet captain, led the first meeting. He stood tall in the conference room, looking down at the human representatives with barely hidden disdain. "We appreciate your world offering sanctuary," he said carefully, "but we must insist on handling our own repairs. Your technology is insufficient for our needs." The human engineers in the room exchanged looks. Tom Reed, already known for his brilliant work on experimental drives, spoke up from his seat. "Those energy fluctuations in your port engine housing, that's a containment problem, isn't it? We might not have ships like yours, but we know unstable power systems when we see them." Before Reiner could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Dominion had followed the Allied ship. 3 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapons already charging. Earth's orbital defenses, primitive by alien standards, began firing immediately. "We need to evacuate," Reiner announced. "Your weapons cannot harm Dominion ships. We will draw them away from your world." The human general in charge, an older man named Peters, smiled. "Or you could let us show you how we fight." He turned to his staff. "Launch Operation Thundercloud." What happened next changed how the Allied species saw humans forever. Earth's primitive ships emerged from hidden positions in the asteroid belt. They had used the massive rocks as cover, their energy signatures masked by simple solar panels spread across the asteroid's surfaces. As the Dominion ships focused on Earth's obvious defenses, the hidden fleet struck from behind. The human ships were smaller and less advanced, but they attacked with brutal efficiency. They used the asteroids themselves as weapons, pushing them into carefully calculated paths. The Dominion ships, built to fight energy weapons and missiles, found their shields useless against massive rocks moving at high speed. "Impossible," Reiner whispered, watching the tactical display. "Their ships are not even equipped with standard gravity projectors. How are they moving those asteroids so precisely?" Reed grinned. "Lots of math and good timing. Sometimes the old ways work best." The battle lasted less than an hour. 1 Dominion ship was destroyed, another crippled, and the third retreated in confusion. The Allied species representatives watched in stunned silence as human crews began salvaging operations, efficiently collecting debris from both sides for study. "Perhaps," Reiner said slowly, "we were too quick to judge your capabilities." That day marked the beginning of an unusual partnership. The Allied species had advanced technology, but fought according to rigid, predictable patterns. Humans brought creativity and unconventional thinking that their enemies couldn't anticipate. When the Dominion attacked again, they found their usual tactics failing against combined human-allied strategies. The Stormbringer project grew from this collaboration. The Allied species provided access to their technology, while humans showed them new ways to use it. Most aliens thought it was a mistake to give humans advanced tech, but the project's supporters argued that human unpredictability was exactly what they needed. The ship's first test flights proved them right. Human engineers didn't just copy alien technology, they reimagined it. They combined principles of classical physics with advanced alien science in ways no one had tried before. The storm drive itself came from Reed's observation that dark matter behaved differently when exposed to certain electromagnetic frequencies. Now, as the Stormbringer raced toward Proxima Ridge, those innovations would face their greatest test. The ship carried humanity's dreams of proving themselves as equals in the galaxy. For Captain Walker and his crew, failure wasn't an option. They would show the galaxy that humans weren't just quick learners. They were forces of nature waiting to be unleashed. The Stormbringer cut through space like a black arrow. its engines pushing the massive ship to speeds that should have been impossible. In the engine room, Tom Reed watched the Storm Drive's power readings climb steadily higher. The device was his life's work, a fusion of human intuition and alien science that broke all the rules. "How's she holding up?" Captain Walker's voice came through the comm system. The whole ship vibrated slightly as they pushed past 40% power for the first time. Reed checked another set of readings before answering. "The containment field is stable, but we're in unknown territory now, Captain. No one's ever run a drive like this at these power levels." He moved between monitoring stations, his experienced eyes catching every small detail. "The alien said it couldn't be done, you know. Said dark matter couldn't be controlled this way." Walker's slight chuckle came through the speaker. "Since when have humans cared about couldn't be done?" The Storm Drive took up 3 decks in the center of the ship. Unlike the smooth, elegant designs of alien engines, it was a maze of pipes, cables, and magnetic containment units. Alien engineers had called it ugly. Reed called it beautiful. The drive didn't just power the ship. It was a weapon, a shield, and a miracle of physics all in one. "Engineering team, status report." Reed called out to his crew. The responses came back quickly. Everyone knew their jobs. The humans worked alongside a few allied species engineers who had believed in the project. Together, they monitored the artificial storm brewing in the ship's heart. On the bridge, Kate Morris reviewed tactical simulations for the 100th time. The Stormbringer's main weapon wasn't its guns or missiles. It was the drive itself. By manipulating dark matter, they could create gravitational distortions that no shield could stop. The trick was controlling these distortions without tearing their own ship apart. "Tactical, what's our real combat capability?" Walker asked, studying the star charts showing their approach to Proxima Ridge. Morris brought up her latest calculations. "The Storm Drive gives us 3 main advantages. First, we can create gravity wells to disrupt enemy formations. Second, we can use dark matter pulses to bypass their shields completely. Third, we can generate an electromagnetic storm that should interfere with their targeting systems." "Should?" Walker raised an eyebrow. "We never got to test it against actual Dominion ships, sir," Morris admitted. "Everything's theoretical past this point." Walker nodded slowly. The Stormbringer was the most advanced warship humans had ever built, but it was still untested in real combat. The ship's outer hull used alien metals and composites, protecting systems that mixed Earth technology with reversed engineered alien tech. Even the crew areas showed this blend alien gravity plating alongside human-style control interfaces. "Time to target," Walker asked his navigation officer. 30 minutes at current speed, sir. We're picking up debris from the battle already." In his quarters, Walker took a moment to record a message for Earth Command. "If you're hearing this, we've either made history or we're about to become part of it. The Stormbringer is everything we hoped for. A perfect mix of human creativity and alien technology. We're about to find out if that's enough." He paused, looking at the small Earth flag on his desk. "The allied species thought we were primitive because we didn't have their technology. They didn't understand that humans have been fighting and winning against superior forces throughout our history. We don't need the best weapons. We need the right weapons, used in the right way." The ship's lights dimmed briefly as the Storm Drive drew more power. Through his viewport, Walker could see the faint distortion of space around the ship's hull, a visible sign of the forces they were playing with. Some called the Storm Drive dangerous and unstable. Walker called it humanity's greatest achievement. "Battle stations," he ordered, returning to the bridge. "Engineering, take us to 60% power. Tactical, begin charging the main capacitors. Navigation, plot us an attack vector that'll give them something to remember." The Stormbringer's crew moved with practiced efficiency, every person knowing their role in the coming battle. They were about to show the galaxy why humans had survived and thrived despite all odds. They weren't just bringing a new weapon to the fight. They were bringing human determination, creativity, and the willingness to do the impossible. The Stormbringer dropped out of high speed near the edge of the battlefield. The scene before them was worse than they had imagined. Broken ships drifted through space, some still burning despite the vacuum. The Dominion fleet had formed a tight circle around the remaining Allied vessels, slowly closing in for the kill. "Status report," Walker ordered, his voice steady despite the destruction displayed on the main screen. 23 Allied ships still fighting, Morris reported from Tactical. 87 Dominion vessels detected. Their formation is designed to prevent any escapes. She paused, checking another reading. "Sir, they're using some kind of new dark matter weapons. Allied shields are failing faster than they should." Walker's eyes narrowed. "Looks like we're not the only ones who've been experimenting with dark matter." "Engineering, how's our drive holding up?" "Steady at 65%, Captain." Reed's voice came back, strain evident in his tone. "We can go higher, but I can't guarantee what'll happen past 80. The bridge crew watched as another Allied ship exploded, its reactor going critical under sustained Dominion fire. Admiral Renar's flagship was in the center of the Allied formation, its shields flickering weakly as it tried to coordinate the desperate defense. "They haven't noticed us yet," Morris said. "The battle's putting out so much energy that our signature is lost in the background." Walker stood from his command chair, mind racing through options. They had one chance to make their entrance count. The Dominion fleet was too well organized, too disciplined in their attack pattern. That made them predictable. "Navigation, plot a course right through their formation, between battle groups 3 and 4, he ordered. "Engineering, divert all non-essential power to the storm drive." "Tactical, prepare to generate a gravity well right in the middle of their fleet." Warning lights flashed as the storm drive's power levels climbed. The ship's hull creaked under the strain of forces it was never meant to contain. On the engineering deck, Reed and his team raced between control stations, fighting to keep the artificial storm stable as its power grew. "Storm drive at 75%, Reed reported. "Containment field is holding, but we're seeing some weird readings from the core." "Sir," Morris called out, "I'm detecting power spikes from the Dominion ships. They're preparing another attack run on the Allied fleet." Walker took a deep breath. "All hands, brace for combat maneuvers. Let's show them why they should have stayed away from human space." The Stormbringer's engines flared to life, pushing the massive ship forward. As they closed in, the Dominion fleet finally noticed them. Several enemy ships broke formation, turning to face this new threat. "They're scanning us," Morris reported. "They seem confused by our energy signature." "Good," Walker smiled. "Let's give them something really confusing. Now, Mr. Reed." The storm drive roared to life at full power. Dark matter streams erupted from the ship's specialized vents, twisting the very fabric of space around them. The Dominion ships closest to them suddenly found themselves being pulled sideways, their precise formation shattered by artificial gravity wells that their sensors hadn't seen coming. "Direct hit," Morris shouted as 2 Dominion cruisers collided, their shields failing against physical impact. "Their whole battle line is breaking up." Through the chaos, Admiral Renar's voice crackled over the comm. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately." "Admiral," Walker responded, "Captain James Walker of the Earth ship Stormbringer. Sorry we're late to the party." The Stormbringer carved through the Dominion formation like a knife, its dark matter wake leaving devastation behind it. Enemy ships fired frantically, but their shots went wide, distorted by the gravitational anomalies now filling the battlefield. The perfectly organized Dominion attack dissolved into chaos. "Storm drive holding at 80%, Reed reported, his voice tense. "We've got maybe 10 minutes at this power level before something breaks." 10 minutes is all we need," Walker said, watching as the Allied fleet began to rally. "Morris, target their command ships. Let's show them exactly what happens when they underestimate human ingenuity." The battle for Proxima Ridge had entered a new phase, and the storm had only just begun to rage. The Stormbringer shuddered as enemy fire finally found its mark. Dominion ships had adapted quickly, adjusting their weapons to compensate for the gravitational distortions. Warning lights flashed across every deck as systems reported damage. "Direct hit on Deck 4," Morris called out. "Their targeting computers are learning our pattern. We need to change tactics." In engineering, alarms screamed as the storm drive's containment field fluctuated. Reed's hands flew across the control panel, trying to stabilize the artificial storm raging in the ship's heart. A power conduit exploded nearby, showering the deck with sparks. "The main power coupling is failing," one of the Allied engineers shouted. "We need to shut down the drive." Reed shook his head, already moving toward the maintenance shaft. "Shut it down now, and we're all dead." He grabbed a repair kit and his protective suit. "Keep it running. I'm going in to fix it manually." "That's impossible," the alien engineer protested. "The radiation levels in there will kill you in minutes." "Then I better work fast." Reed grinned, sealing his helmet. The maintenance shaft led directly to the storm drive's core. No one had ever attempted repairs while the system was running at full power. The alien engineers called it suicide. Reed called it another day at work. On the bridge, Walker watched as Morris implemented a new combat strategy. She had noticed something about the debris field. The wreckage from destroyed ships was interfering with Dominion sensors. Instead of avoiding the debris, she began using the ship's gravitational control to throw pieces of wreckage at enemy vessels. "Look at their formation," Morris explained, pointing to the tactical display. "They're so focused on maintaining perfect spacing that they're limiting their own movement options. Engineering, can you give me a focused gravity pulse on Grid 7? The Stormbringer's dark matter vents pulsed. A massive chunk of destroyed cruisers suddenly accelerated, smashing through 2 Dominion ships before they could react. Their perfect formation became a weakness as debris forced them to either break ranks or suffer damage. In the maintenance shaft, Reed worked with desperate speed. The storm drive's core glowed with impossible energies, dark matter streams twisting through containment fields that were never meant to handle this much power. The radiation meter on his suit was already in the red zone. "Talk to me, Reed." Walker's voice crackled through the comm. "How bad is it?" "Just a simple repair, Captain," Reed grunted, his hand steady as he replaced the damaged coupling. "Like fixing a car engine. Just got to avoid the parts that could tear me apart at the atomic level." The ship rocked with another hit. Reed braced himself against the wall, then kept working. He could feel the heat even through his protective suit. The storm drive's power was increasing beyond their calculations, but instead of trying to contain it, Reed began modifying the systems to channel it. "Sir," Morris shouted on the bridge. 3 Dominion battleships breaking through on Vector 2. They're charging their main weapons. Walker started to order evasive action, but Morris was already moving. She had recalibrated their gravitational projectors, using them to catch incoming fire and curve it back toward the enemy. The Dominion ships, expecting their shots to hit the Stormbringer, instead watched their own weapons tear into their allies. "Reed, we need more power to the forward projectors," Morris called over the comm. "I've got an idea." "Funny you should mention that." Reed's strained voice came back. "I just finished some improvements. Routing emergency power now. Try not to break the laws of physics too badly." The Stormbringer's capabilities were evolving mid-battle. Every time the Dominion adapted to one tactic, the human crew developed 2 more. They used debris as shields, turned enemy fire back on itself, and created gravitational corridors that allowed Allied ships to regroup and counterattack. "Admiral," Walker contacted Reinar's ship. "Form your fleet up behind us. We're going to clear you a path." The Allied commander had watched in amazement as this single human ship changed the course of the battle. His tactical officers were recording everything, studying how the humans turned chaos into advantage. "Storm drive stability at 30% and falling," Reed reported from engineering, his voice weaker now. But I've got one more trick up my sleeve. Morris, remember that theory we discussed about using dark matter to create a chain reaction? The one that you said might tear a hole in space? Morris asked, already adjusting her targeting systems. I thought you said it was too dangerous to try. Well, Reed laughed weakly. Now seems like a good time to test it. Alarms blared throughout the Stormbringer as the ship's systems struggled to contain the growing power of the storm drive. Reed's modifications had pushed the engine far beyond its design limits. Dark matter streams twisted around the ship like black lightning, creating a terrifying display that made even the Dominion ships pause their attack. Whatever you're planning, do it fast, Walker ordered, watching as damage reports flooded his screen. We're losing structural integrity on decks 5 through 8. Morris's fingers flew across her tactical console, implementing the crazy plan she and Reed had once discussed over late-night coffee. The idea was simple but dangerous. Use the storm drive to create a cascade of dark matter reactions that would ripple through space itself. Target locked on their fleet center, she reported. But sir, this could go very wrong. We've never tried anything like this at this scale. The Dominion fleet is regrouping, Walker noted, watching the enemy ships form up for another attack run. They're learning our tricks. We won't get another chance at this. In engineering, Reed stumbled away from the maintenance shaft, radiation burns already forming under his suit despite the protection. He made it to the main control panel, his movements growing weaker. Drive containment is failing, he reported. But I've managed to modify the field generators. Instead of fighting the power buildup, we can direct it. Like pointing a fire hose? Walker asked, remembering Reed's earlier explanations of the storm drive's potential. More like pointing at tsunami. Reed laughed weakly. Morris, you'll only get one shot at this. The timing has to be perfect. The Dominion fleet had reorganized, their ships forming a new attack pattern. They had adapted to the Stormbringer's gravity weapons and were now coordinating their shields to resist the distortions. Their main guns charged, preparing to deliver a killing blow. Admiral Renard, Walker called over the comm. Get your ships behind us now. This is going to get rough. The Allied fleet responded immediately, maneuvering to take shelter in the Stormbringer's shadow. They had watched this human ship turn impossible odds into a fighting chance. Now they would trust it one more time. Storm drive power at critical levels, Reed warned. Field containment is about to fail completely. On my mark, Walker ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. The ship groaned as more systems redlined. Warning lights flashed across every console as the artificial storm built to impossible levels. Morris watched her targeting display, waiting for the perfect moment. The Dominion fleet had concentrated their ships, preparing to combine their firepower. They didn't realize they were playing right into the humans' hands. Now, Walker commanded. Morris triggered the modified storm drive just as Reed released the containment fields in a controlled collapse. Dark matter erupted from the Stormbringer in a massive wave, twisting space itself as it spread outward. The effect was like dropping a stone in a pond, but instead of water, they were disturbing the fabric of reality. The wave hit the Dominion fleet's center first. Ships caught in the effect found their carefully coordinated shields useless as space itself distorted around them. Metal twisted, energy weapons bent back on themselves, and carefully maintained formations shattered. It's working, Morris shouted as her sensors showed Dominion ships losing power and control. The dark matter cascade was creating a chain reaction, each affected ship adding to the distortion field's power. The Stormbringer rode the wave of chaos it had created, its hull creaking under forces it was never meant to endure. In engineering, Reed worked frantically to prevent a complete drive collapse that would destroy them all. On the bridge, Walker watched as the mighty Dominion fleet began to break apart. Incredible, Reinar's voice came over the comm, filled with awe. Their entire command structure is in chaos. Their ships can't maintain formation in these conditions. The battle space had become a maelstrom of twisted metal and distorted energy as the dark matter cascade reached its peak. Dominion ships fired blindly, their shots curving away uselessly or striking their own allies. The perfect order they relied on had become impossible in this storm of human making. Allied fleet, attack pattern Delta, Walker ordered, his voice carrying across all channels. The storm's about to break. Hit them while they're blind. As the Allied ships moved to attack, the Stormbringer hung in space like the eye of the hurricane it had created. The ship had pushed the boundaries of physics, turned chaos into a weapon, and shown the galaxy why humans were a force to be reckoned with. The storm finally died down, leaving the battlefield scattered with damaged and drifting Dominion ships. Those that could still move were retreating in disorder, their perfect formations and tactics shattered. The Allied fleet, though battered, had survived, and victory calls echoed across all communication channels. The Stormbringer floated in space, its hull scared and burning in places. Emergency crews raced through the corridors, fighting fires and sealing breaches. In engineering, medical teams carefully removed Reed from his radiation suit. Despite the protection, his exposure while fixing the drive had been severe. Did it work? Reed asked weakly as they loaded him onto a stretcher. Did we get them? We got them, Walker assured him, having come down from the bridge. The Dominion fleet is running. You can add Impossible Space Storm to your list of achievements. Reed managed a smile before the medical team rushed him to the infirmary. The storm drive had nearly torn itself apart, but his modifications had held just long enough. The engineering crew, humans, and aliens working side by side, were already beginning repairs, learning from how the system had performed under extreme conditions. On the bridge, Morris was helping coordinate rescue operations. The battle space was filled with escape pods and damaged ships from both sides. "Sir," she called as Walker returned. "Admiral Renner is requesting permission to come aboard." "Permission granted," Walker nodded. "Let's show our allies what the inside of a human warship looks like." The Admiral's shuttle docked 30 minutes later. Reiner stepped onto the Stormbringer's deck with a mix of curiosity and newfound respect. The ship's design was unlike anything in the Allied fleet, a perfect fusion of human creativity and alien technology. "Captain Walker," Reiner greeted him formally. "The Allied Species Council will want a full report on what happened here. Your ship, your tactics, they were unlike anything we've ever seen." "That's kind of our specialty," Walker smiled. "Humans have a long history of doing the unexpected. Sometimes it's our greatest weakness, but today it was our greatest strength." More Allied ships arrived over the next few hours, securing the area and beginning recovery operations. The Stormbringer's success had done more than just win a battle. It had changed how the galaxy viewed human potential. The ship's data recorders had captured everything, from Reed's desperate repairs to Morris's innovative tactics. "The Dominion will be back," Reiner warned during a debriefing in the ship's conference room. "But they'll never again make the mistake of underestimating human capabilities. Your Stormbringer has changed the nature of space warfare." Walker looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. "That's what humans do, Admiral. We change things. Sometimes by choice, sometimes by necessity, but we never stop pushing boundaries." News of the battle spread quickly through Allied space. The Stormbringer became a symbol of what was possible when different species worked together, combining their strengths in new ways. Allied engineers studied the ship's innovative design, while human engineers were finally given access to more advanced alien technology. In the infirmary, Reed was recovering slowly but steadily. The medical staff had been amazed by his survival, not realizing that human determination could be as powerful as any technology. Morris visited him regularly, already working on new ideas for weapons and defenses based on what they'd learned. "The Allied Council is recommending we build more ships like the Stormbringer," Walker told his senior staff a week later. "But they'll never be quite the same. This ship, this crew, we proved something out there. We showed the galaxy that humanity belongs among the stars. The Stormbrinker underwent repairs in orbit around a nearby Allied world. Workers would pause to touch its hull, wanting to feel the ship that had created a storm in space itself. The Dominion's new weapons had been countered, their perfect tactics broken, and their belief in their superiority shaken. But more importantly, humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not just as users of advanced technology, but as innovators who could see possibilities where others saw only limitations. The storm had come to Proxima Ridge, and in its wake, a new era of cooperation and advancement had begun. "Ready for our next mission, Captain?" Morris asked as the repairs neared completion. Walker looked at his crew, human and alien, all working together, all part of something greater than themselves. "Always ready," he smiled. "After all, there are still plenty of storms left for us to chase."